The far-right Football Lads Alliance clashed with anti-racist and anti-fascist counter-demonstrators in London on October 13th, another sign of the growing xenophobia and the response to it across Europe. 4 hours to the north, a different kind of gathering was underway in the city of Leeds. Dozens of educators gathered to learn how to challenge racism in schools, organized by the local chapter of the National Education Union, even as its members were marching in London against the far right.
So at the moment, I know that there are union banners in London out opposing the DFLA, which is it's called the Football Lads Alliance, but it's like an alt-right group that you'd get in America. That's its manifestation here. It's supported by Bannon, so it's the same sort of thing. And our union is campaigning against that as well. So,
and why is it important to do that?
Well, why? I mean, there's moral reasons for why racism's bad, isn't it? It's not very nice, but I think from a union point of view, racism divides black and white workers, doesn't it? And we want to fight for the rights of everybody. And so what you find is actually, from a union point of view, racism harms white workers as well as black workers because it divides them. So it harms both, because if you're divided, you can't fight for better pay as effectively. You can't fight for better housing or better terms and conditions.
The event was organized to give educators practical tools to combat racism, xenophobia, and Islamophobia.
Whether they're from a personal perspective of, a woman who came and spoke about her father that was murdered by the far right. We've talked about Islamophobia. We've talked about making sure that the curriculum isn't Eurocentric. So we've, sort of had a range of speakers, and we've put together different workshops about challenging racism and diverse curriculum, about challenging Islamophobia, ensuring that we are challenging colonisation and colonial attitudes within the curriculum, as well as ensuring that we are teaching for an inclusive environment and welcoming refugees.
Presenting at the conference was Marvina Newton, founder and CEO of Angels of Youth, a charity that aims to lift up young people from disadvantaged backgrounds to help challenge inequality.
So in the education system, what you then find out is this curriculum is already created, the system is already there, and any time to challenge the status quo is a problem. So hence why with the tail end you're teaching things that has no relevance to the UK. You're teaching things that has no relevance to the demographics of the people you even have in your class.
A major theme throughout the conference was Eurocentric curriculum that increasingly doesn't reflect Britain's diverse student bodies.
But when the curriculum doesn't look like me, sound like me, feel like me, then I am told already by a system that I do not exist in the higher picture.
The conference also offered a workshop on countering Islamophobia in the classroom. There's been a nearly 30% rise in hate crimes in Britain in recent years, especially around the 2016 Brexit vote. Far-right supporters of leaving the EU openly campaigned to exclude or expel immigrants.
We've noticed a spike periodically with Islamophobia and racism. So we had Brexit, the campaign of Brexit, the Donald Trump campaign, for example, contributed to a spike of hate crimes against those perceived to be immigrants, Muslims, the other, whether the Sikh community, the Hindu community, even the Jewish community, of course, they've been victims of anti-Semitism at the same time as well.
Speakers emphasized the need to give students the tools they need to combat racism and Islamophobia.
We also, very importantly, provide media literacy training. I think this is neglected from a young age. Why did I have to wait to go to college or university to learn about politics and to learn about the media? It should be taught at school, that how the media represents certain communities, how the media works, who owns it, what the political, sociological, economic orientations are, within the media system, and same with politics, what systems we're living in, and what alternative systems that have been. What democracy looks like, what our rights are as active citizens. This should be taught from a very, very young age, and we aim to do that.
Black teachers in England, like the United States, are underrepresented in the classroom. Only 3% of English and 6.8% of American teachers are black, compared to student populations at least double those numbers.
In the United Kingdom, we have a similar problem, that there are not enough black teachers in schools, and that can mean that schools are very alienating places for children. If what you're being taught is white and who's teaching you is white, and this is a completely black school, it can be a very difficult climate to grow up in. So, we need more black teachers. But what we are also finding is that teachers who are black are leaving the profession because of racism. So they're leaving the profession because black teachers are more likely to be disciplined, they're more likely to end up on capability, they're more likely to be made redundant, they're more likely to be left behind in pay progression. So what the experience of black teachers, what we're finding is actually when black teachers do enter school, they're finding it very difficult because of racism.
And so I understand that in recent years there's been austerity measures on government programs, including schools.
Yeah.
What impact does that have, and do you support what Jeremy Corbyn has proposed as an alternative of Labour?
Yeah, definitely. So austerity has been in place, for 8 years now, and it's not worked. It's not done what the government wanted, so debt's still rising, the government books don't balance, and what we find is that it's causing some real hardship for people. So you've got millions of people using food banks, children, the amount of children, there's now 1 million more children living in poverty than there was before. And this is not an environment that is going to create a prosperous nation. If your children are hungry and they're poor, they're our future. They're not going to grow into the well-rounded individuals that we all need them to be. So austerity's failed. It needs to end. And do I support Jeremy Corbyn's programme? Well, yeah, absolutely. I do support that. I think the wealthy of this world have been able to get away with too much, and it's been a cost to the vast majority of people.
England's major teachers union, with over 500,000 members, is preparing for a possible strike next year against cuts and austerity measures.
Again, most teachers are going to have a real term pay cut. So I feel that there needs to be industrial action around that. It's time to fight now. This government for 3 things. I think we need a fair workload for teachers because they're working too long. We need fair funding for our schools, and we need to be fairly paid.
For more reporting from the United Kingdom, stay tuned to therealnews.com. From Leeds, this is Jessel Noor.